So let's talk about what we've been talking about here, which is downtown Detroit and how it recovers from the pandemic. I keep saying that it's kind of six in one hand, half a dozen in another. Nighttime, it's not that different anymore. I mean, you go down there and there's a lot of activity. Daytime, not as much, and I guess I have real worries about that. As a banker, though, I'm really curious about how you see the recovery and sort of the key levers to pull to make sure we get back to where we were before.
Yeah. First of all, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that the world's different than it was pre-pandemic. And so getting back to where we were before may mean
maybe
something
that's not
different.
The thing.
I do think, though, that Richard Florida, who was here talking about the new role of what downtowns are for, was interesting, and we're, as Detroiters, very well positioned. That he said, this isn't the central business district, he said central connecting district,
yes, right.
Which I think is a really great metaphor for what you and I see when we are downtown, right?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I think that some of the things that we need to keep doing, frankly, are aligned with what we're doing at Bank of America to help drive economic mobility, especially in communities of color, but stay focused on things like health and health equity, because you can't be economically mobile if you're not healthy. Job reskilling and upskilling, so filling these gaps that we know we have between the skills employers need and the skills that are available. Focusing, or thirdly, on small business and helping drive that forward, because that's going to help our downtown as well. All these small businesses are really key employers, and they also knit together neighborhoods, which is really important. And then the last thing is affordable housing. You've got to be able to have a housing stock that people can access, and that's one of our competitive strengths when you look at Detroit, and the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan nationally, is that we're an affordable place to live.
Yeah, more affordable than other cities. At the same time, of course, people in the city who try to make rent and try to buy houses and tell you, look, it still can be pretty hard. What about the lending environment in the city right now and the role that needs to play in all of this?
Well, I was having this discussion with another banker earlier today. Doing home loans in particular in the city has always been difficult because of the appraisal issue.
Right.
And that is a federal issue, and we're not getting around that. But lots of organizations, us included, have come up with some, I think, novel ways to help address that gap. And so we've got a program we call the Community Loan Affordable Loan Solution. And what it does is it allows a first-time home buyer, and that's the key thing,
right,
to get into a home responsibly and sustainably with no down payment. So we provide a grant for the down payment, essentially. And what's interesting about that is that, to your point, very often the mortgage payment is far lower than rent.
Yeah.
So it actually saves the homeowner money, helps them build wealth, helps us with the housing stock in the city, and we win a client. So from our perspective, that's a true win-win.
Are you optimistic? Are you bullish on the city of Detroit and its recovery, not just downtown, but the neighborhoods, which the lending environment there is, of course, really different from downtown, both in a residential and a commercial sense.
Yeah, I think you can look at any situation and see, what the issue is, or maybe what the problem might be, but also what the opportunity is. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are here today are still squarely in the opportunity camp. That there is a lot of opportunity for us here. One of the things that was a data point I found the other day, which was interesting, is the Department of Energy came out and said the 3 states in the country best positioned to drive battery manufacturing, and Michigan is one of the 3, right? Which we know we need to win in that regard, but that's going to create jobs, that's going to create opportunities, and lots of suppliers around that. So these are just other examples of what Richard Florida said, which is the world is tilting in Detroit's favor.
Yeah.
And when was the last time we said that?
Never.
It's been a while.
Not in my lifetime. So let's look forward a bit to May and Mackinac Island, when you're going to be the chair of the policy conference. What do we have to look forward to this year?
Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we call the power of and. And that's what the theme of the conference is. So often, Stephen, you know this, people will come at an issue or come at a problem with a set of either or choices.
Yeah, right.
But we frequently...
And then fight about the or.
Yeah. And so what you end up doing is having a discussion around being right, not trying to get it right. And that's what we want to shift the conversation to do, is how do we put some things into maybe some tension that we realize that if we really work through them together, we get to the best and. So things like sustainability and economic growth, making investments for the future but still being fiscally responsible, using equity, diversity, and inclusion as a growth strategy. Some of these things that we're going to talk about, I'm really excited for. When we have, there's a committee of folks and advisors around, the chair and the CEO of the chamber to advise it. And when we start talking about this theme, we've got a lot of enthusiastic response. And so I'm looking forward to the conference. The agenda is really shaping up nicely, and it's going to be fun.